Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Navigating the Waters, where I'm joined as always by our fabulous host, the founder and CEO of River VC, the fabulous Stephanie Mckinney. Stephanie, how are you, my love?
Great. How are you?
Yeah, I'm really good, thank you. I'm really good and excited about today.
Yes, today is going to be a good one. We talked in previous episodes about having that mindset, having that mentality to be able to lead others towards success while still managing, your wellness and your being, and being able to delegate and still control, and how do you run a business doing that. So I'm very excited because you are an expert in that field with you've created Mastermindset, a 12-month program to get that leader to where they need to be able to run a successful company. So that is what we're going to talk about today, is what you do, and I'm going to ask you a couple questions, and I'm sure other listeners would love to hear the answer to.
Oh, fabulous. No, thank you. I'm really excited about it because this is our third cohort. So it's a proven piece. And actually, I went through one myself a few years ago. So I personally have seen the value of it and now get the joy of being able to share that with other people. Because, as a business owner, you kind of set your business up, don't you? You've got an idea, you've got something that you're passionate about. And you take the risk, you take that leap, you trust that this is what you're supposed to do. And then you wake up and you realize that you're like, oh, hold on, I'm HR, I'm IT, I'm payroll, I'm finance, I'm marketing, I'm sales, I'm business development, I'm research and development. And you're like, I didn't know how to do all of those things. I was passionate about this thing over here. And the businesses, they grow like that. But I meet a lot of business owners who've got themselves to positions of real growth. Some of my clients are in the early millions, and some of them are still, in the tens and hundreds of thousands. But so they're successful, but they're stuck in the fact that they are spending all of their time in the business, working in the weeds, and none of the time working on the business. And one of the really worrying statistics, and in particular in America, but I know this is replicated globally, is that 80% of businesses exit poor. So they put all of this work in, they put all of this effort in, they give up all of their time, they swap out time that they could be spent with loved ones and family and things, creating this thing that doesn't survive them. And it doesn't survive them because it only works with them in it. They are the pinnacle of everything. So, you come to go and sell it to an investor, and the investor goes, okay, Stephanie, that's great. I'd like River, but do you come with it? Because everything about it revolves around you. And they're like, well, no, I'm doing this because I'm ready to retire now. I want to go and do something else. So one of the reasons that we do Mastermindset is to provide knowledge, skills, advice, but also a support network to help businesses go through every element that they need to build a successful, sustainable, growing business that works without them in it. Now, that doesn't mean to say they don't have to ever work in it if they don't want to. This is not to remove yourself, but it's to remove the need for you to be there, for people to be able to finally say, this works without me, and therefore, if I wanted to, I could sell it, or I could pass it on to somebody else, or I could go and do something else, or I could just run it for the rest of my life. But without that overwhelm, without that feeling like you're just drowning under the tasks, under the activities, because it's such a range, isn't it, in business when you go into it that you might not have had to deal with before. Not everybody's ever had to lead anybody before, but all of a sudden, if you're in the business, one, you're leading yourself, and two, you're leading anybody that works with you. So you suddenly step into that leadership role, don't you?
Yeah, and I love that analogy you made. You're basically a janitor all the way up to CEO, and it's kind of taking yourself but like delegating those tasks and delegating and making sure that you know what's going on while still giving a little bit more hands-off experience to the person that's doing it. And then being able to do what you want to do and build that product and build that that application, that company, rather than what you said, working on the company rather than working for the company.
Yeah. So that you're thinking about that strategy, that you're out there going, what next? Where else? Where are we going? I get a lot of business owners that are frustrated that the business isn't growing at the pace they'd like it to. But that's because they're not doing the thing that makes their soul shine. The thing that they set it up for, the thing that they were most passionate about. they're not able to do as much of that as they'd like to, because they're stuck doing all of these other tasks, these everyday bits, that you're like, well, actually, that might be somebody else's joy. You might not be able to see that. I always use an analogy of one of my big mistakes when I was back in corporate life. And I got given this task to do this really boring spreadsheet. It was really menial and dreadful. And I couldn't bring myself to delegate it to somebody because it was so awful. And I was like, oh, I'll just do it myself because that's just horrendous. Until one of my team came to find me and they said, do you not trust us? And I said, what do you mean, do I not trust you? I was mortified. And she went, why did you do this spreadsheet? And I went, because it was just a boring waste of time. And I didn't want to offend you by making you do that. And she was like, but if it was a waste of your time, a waste of my time, as in if you gave it to me, you'd be wasting my time. Surely it was a waste of your time. And I went, well, it was, to be fair. And she was like, but at one, I like doing spreadsheets. She said, so I probably wouldn't have found it menial and tedious like you did. I might have quite enjoyed it. She said, but equally, if you'd have let me do that, you would have probably got half an hour back in your diary. And I was like, yeah. She went, what could you have done for the team with that half an hour? And I was like, that's a great point. I'd not thought of it that way. I'd not thought of the fact that whilst I was trying to be helpful, while I was trying to not delegate things that perhaps weren't the most exciting to delegate, I wasn't helping them grow. And that meant I was keeping us smaller. Well, that puts us all at risk because their job only exists if the company continues to grow. So it was a massive eye-opener. It was a lot of years ago, but it was a massive eye-opener, and one that I share with business owners now to say, what is it that you can, one of the things we take them through, which hopefully is helpful to the listeners, is learning your do, delegate and dump list. So what is it you have to do? And you have to do it either because it's the thing that sets your world on fire, or you have to do it because you're the only person that's got that skill. What is it that you could delegate? Now, that doesn't mean to say necessarily you can delegate it today, because there might not be anybody to delegate it to, but the tasks that you go, well, yeah, actually, if I had a person, I could delegate this. And then the third, and it's really important, what are the things you can dump? We do things every day because we've done them every day. And I made a living out of going into organizations and asking what I call the dim girl questions. So I go, can I just ask, why is it we do that? What do we do it like that for? The reason being, 9 times out of 10, I would end up giving people really big wins in the first week of being there, big impacts on their bottom line by taking away stuff they were doing that they didn't need to do. Because people never go back and check, why am I doing this? Yeah, because I've been doing it for that long. It's just momentum. So getting people really into that mindset of saying, you've got a to-do list, but how many of the things on there are game changers? How many of them are crucial? How many of them are the things that are going to really make a difference?
Exactly.
And actually, if you focus on those first, it's amazing how much momentum that you gain. I used to be dreadful for having the world's longest to-do list and then being really proud of myself that I'd ticked off 90% of it, but I ticked off all the little stuff, all the stuff that didn't actually add any value per se. It needed doing, but what you find if you go the other way, so now there's only ever 3 things on my to-do list. They're the 3. At the end of every day, before I go home, I write down what are the 3 things that have to be done tomorrow. Have to be. And I do those first. I don't take meetings until they're done. They're the 3 things that I've got done. And at that point, I'll add in all the little things that needed to be done in the day as well. So by the end of the day, I might be ticking off a list of 18 things that I've done, but I will only start it with 3, which means I have to be focused. I have to be dedicated to that. And what I tend to find is things I thought needed to happen that I didn't get round to. Turns out they weren't needed. Because actually, you get 2 days down the line and they were like, yeah. Moments passed, it didn't add anything. So I think helping business owners to have that. And also, it's lonely often as a business owner. Where do you go for that support? Who knows what it's like to be in your shoes? And the beauty of the Mastermind program is you're there with 7 other business owners that know it, that have been there, that get it, that feel like you feel. And therefore you've got that safe space for you all to grow together, as well as a team of experts that come in. So every month we have a different expert, because it's not me saying I'll teach you how to do everything around business. I wouldn't be so arrogant. But I do know leadership and mindset. So it's like, I can teach you that bit, but actually I've got world-class experts that come in and do the other things, that come in and help you, how you do your budgeting, how you do your cash flow, how you do your forecasting, how you come back and check in on that is such a vital skill, isn't it? That you've got to be able to work on that.
So with all that, I know as a founder, as a startup, you do have to do all those tasks. You do have to be the one who does the books. You do have to be the one who builds the product. But how would you help them build that mentality? Because you said letting go and delegating a lot of it so you can separate yourself from the company. Right now, they want to have all their tentacles attached to everything. So how is that transition? Is it when the company is up and running? Is it when you're ready? What would you say to a startup founder who came to you with that question?
Oh, great question. And I think it's ongoing. Every element you're going to find a new space where you've got to decide, am I ready to give this up? What do I need to be able to give this up and have the confidence that it's actually still going to be done? Because that's one of the big challenges, is how do you trust that if you give it to somebody else that they'll do it? And very often it's, will they do it my way? And actually what we've got to get people to is that mindset of going, they might do it a different way, and that might be even better than the way you do it. Actually, what you've got to get comfortable with is the fact that it will be done, that you can trust that person to be able to create what it is that you want to create, and get comfortable recruiting people that are better than you. This is a challenge that's faced big corporate leaders for years, but it also faces business owners, which is, actually, I'm going to have to go and recruit somebody who knows more than I do about something. And that's a scary space to be. So, because often that's how we view our value. We view our value in the fact that we know how to do it, and we can share it. And all of a sudden, you'll get there. And I see this transition as we go through the mastermind. We get to like month 7 or 8, and people are going, I don't even know what's going on in that bit anymore. I mean, it gets done and it's brilliant, and I see the reports, but I don't know if they still process it in the way they used to process it. I don't know if this, if there's been any changes in the technology. And I'm like, but that's a good thing, because you shouldn't need to know how to do everything. The business should run when you're not there. So I used to, it's getting into that mindset, and I've been doing it for years on leadership training, where you have leaders that were going, oh, it's great, I go on holiday and it all collapses. It's like, that's not great. That means you've not empowered your people to be able to step in and do their job. They only work because you work, and that's not ideal.
I think if you have the mentality that you want to be the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. You need to be surrounded by people that challenge you, people that want to help you grow by breaking. You grow by breaking and mending and continuing forward. So having that mentality from, I want to control everything, I want to be, in the ins and outs of all of the workings of my company, to, okay, I trust that person enough. They know what they're doing. They're an expert in their field. I've seen their work, and they got it. They can control it. They can handle it, especially early on. Having those people like your accountant, like your product developer, and letting them control what they need to control and give you the results, rather than controlling them and hoping for the results that you want. Because then you're just building a toxic team, and they're eventually going to realize that you don't trust them and you don't have the same value in line, and they may still follow your goal, but they're not going to follow it with the same enthusiasm and the same mentality if you're over there shadowing them and headhunting them. And you need to give them a little bit of time to prove that they can be the expert in their field, and then let them do what they need to do to make that company successful. So that's awesome that you have that in your curriculum. And then where do they go from there? How would they branch off mentally? Is it a bad transition that a lot of your clients have? Or
no, for a lot of it, what we do is we build the steps for them, because it's it's making it a safe space to make those changes. It's helping people learn. And often we think it's got to be a big change, and it really isn't. It's usually a small little thing. So it's getting people to swap judgment for curiosity. As human beings, we have a desire to be right, because that's how we see that we add some value. So once you stop being wedded to being right, it's no longer that important. So you find yourself, you do it in conversations, we all do it, where somebody will say something, we'll go, well, that's not right, in our head. Well, that's not right. And all of a sudden I'm ready to wait for my turn, and I can tell you why that's not right. If we instead swap that and go, okay, I hadn't thought of it that way. Could you tell me a little bit more about how you got to that conclusion? Because I hadn't considered it. So, and it's doing that for yourself as well. When you find yourself judging, when you find yourself going, well, that's not right, go, why is it I don't think that's right? What is it that I think makes me right? So really trying to get very curious in our thinking, and learning to swap some of the questions that we ask, so that we are just seeking to understand. So it kind of is a theme that runs throughout, because it's taken a long time to be how we are. So we've got to be kind to ourselves, that it's going to take a while to change. And to your point, Stephanie, which you made so eloquently, we learn most when we get it wrong, when we make a mistake, when we duff up, and we're like, I didn't go the way that I wanted it to. But what have I learned about it? It won't be that the whole thing went wrong. It will be that an element of it went wrong. And it's like, right, spot the element, take that piece out, try again, keep going, but don't just repeat everything the same way. Make sure that you're looking at it and making those minor changes. So what we do with the kind of curriculum, how it works, is we get together once a month. There is the expert that comes in and teaches a new skill, that takes people through that makes sure that they've got that onboarded. But then the other half of the day is really that ongoing working together as a team, working through our mindset, sharing our problems. People will come along and say, right now, the biggest challenge they're facing, you'll ask the group and it'll be facing 4 or 5 of them. So it's like, right, why don't we brainstorm all together on different ways that we could do this? Let's get comfortable with saying, I can share the problem. Because as business owners, who do we share it with? And that's another reason why we're not very good at always relinquishing that control, because we haven't had anybody to share the burden with. So the second part of the group is great for that, because it's a safe space, it's combined, it's trusted, and you can go, I've been battling this for months, and I've got no idea how to do it. And the group will go, well, have you thought of this? Have you thought of that? There might be some ideas that you just no, that's a bit too way out there for me. Or sometimes we all just you get into a space where it's like, well, okay, we don't think that will work, but why don't we think it work? But you'd be amazed how quickly it generates actionable ideas that people can actually implement. And then it's brilliant when they get back in touch and say, I've done that, and this thing that's been bothering me for months is no longer a problem, and I've been able to fix it. I've been able to get rid of that conflict that was in the team. I've been able to deal with that difficult employee. I've been able to, whatever it is, because there's always a whole myriad of them. I've finally been able to work out social media. I've been able to define my niche is another key one that I find for businesses, particularly in the current climate. People get really nervous about getting too narrow. So they'll start off going, yeah, no, it works for anybody. That's not really very helpful if it works for everybody, because they can't see themselves in the product. So it doesn't mean to say you can't replicate it for other people, but start with one set of customers in mind, start with one solution. So we can help people do those parts. And then I also do one-on-one coaching in between the sessions, which is really about ensuring that the individual business owner gets what they need. So collectively, they've all got needs that they're going to do around the business, but we're all individuals. What one of us has got that more need to learn is going to be very different than what somebody else has got more need to learn. So it's making sure that they've got that additional support, and also that place. We don't always want to share in front of an entire group of people that are struggling with this, whereas in that one-to-one, they're more comfortable being able to tell you what's really going on, so that you're better able to help. And sometimes that will be reconnecting them with the expert that came in, and getting them some extra time and saying, you know, it's fine, they can work on this with you, they can help, but at least you're moving yourself forward. You've got, I think the other beauty of the Mastermind Group, and I found this for myself when I went to my one, and I definitely see it in the ones that I run, is you've got that accountability. There's one thing telling yourself you're going to do something, but all of a sudden turning up in front of a group of peers that have given up their time away from their business to, and saying, you know, did you do what you committed to doing? It's your business, it's your commitment. It's like you're not committed, and you're going, yeah, no, I didn't do it. People don't do that because it's awkward. Even if they're lastminute.com, they do it the night before. Homework in the homeroom type thing, sitting there scribbling. They do it, which means that we're helping people take that uncomfortable action, do the thing that they know needs to be done, but they've been putting off or procrastinating, because we do, don't we? We don't mean to, but our subconscious brain will immediately come in with all the things why we shouldn't do it, or all the other things that are more important right now.
So I love that you're creating not just a safe haven for the individual to come out and tell their problems and be able to share with people and get that expertise that you apply for them, but also that community, that ability to be accountable, to be surrounded by people that have the same problems. So you know that it's not just you, and there's other people out there struggling with the same thing in a different way. And I think that would mentally help me a little bit better as a CEO, as a woman, as a founder, to say, okay, it's not just me that I'm struggling with social media and I'm on maybe 1 week and I'm off the other week. It's everybody. It's like the back burner of everything, or the CPA or something else that just comes up in the everyday work life that I go through, but then seeing it in other people is something that I'd be like, have like a weight off my chest once I heard that. So I love that community that you're building around the mastermind, as you're also working on yourself. You're holding other people accountable to that. So that is amazing.
I know, and it's great. And you see real friendships form. And the other thing is, you know, everybody there usually has got a different skill. So it's not like we say, well, there's 8 people and all 8 of them are going to be running VC firms, or all 8 of them are going to be coaches. We try and make a real mix, again, so that people have got different experiences. One, because actually it's lovely to see, you're sat there, you're in your business, and you're seeing that, you know, you're facing that challenge of how the heck do I get on social media, and how do I do that consistently? And then you find that actually, 1, it's not just you, but 2, it's not just your business. Actually, you've got a person over here who is an accountant with the same problem, or a person over here who's doing finances, that the same problem. But equally, there'll probably be somebody in the room that is a social media expert, and they're able to, as well as us getting an expert in when it's that turn, that the expert that we've got in the room is able to provide that ongoing support throughout. And we end up seeing some of the owners working together, which isn't a requirement, but you just see that because they go, well, hold on, you don't know how to do this and I don't know how to do that, but I could do, you know, I've seen some quid pro quo things where I say, well, if you do this for me, I'll do that for you. And also, you're opening up your networks. So it's not just the people in the room, it's the people they know. It's everybody else that's around there, and that community really does build. So, you know, I've seen people really grow their business as a result of things like this.
That's incredible. And you've done this 3 times and they've all been successful, and the communities are still together. So that's incredible. And the next one is starting in September, correct?
So the next one's in September. We keep it small because I'll be honest, I ran one of them and we went to 12, and I didn't think it was as successful. It was, in the fact that people achieved what they set out to achieve. But for me, the bit that was missing is it was a bit too big, and therefore we ended up with some cliques. So you ended up with sub teams almost, where people went off together, and that was great because there was some real friendships that were built. But I think we lost the combined power of the community. So having done it a few times now, 8 I think is the ideal, because that's enough for people to have time to share their challenge, their story, without getting to the, because we have a bit of give us an update from last month, but give us a brief update. But you have 12 and you're like 2 hours in going, We've only got through updates and we've not got to get to anything else. So it was one of those that was like, actually, no, that doesn't feel right. Let's find a better way of doing this. So the last couple we've ran at 8, and actually they work so beautifully, because on each session then you've really got 10 people. You've got the expert, you've got me, you've got the 8 people that are going to come along. But I've seen such amazing friendships. I've even seen some new businesses set up as a result of them, where people have got on so well and found that combined purpose that they've set up a secondary business. So they've kept their original one. It's not been a change of what they were doing, but they've set up something separate as well, which is amazing to see and be part of. I mean, what a gift.
Yeah, that is a gift. That is incredible what you do, and that you're doing it again in September. So for our listeners, if you want to get more information, more insight into how to join the Mastermindset, or to talk to the fabulous Kim, she's here. Her LinkedIn is attached below. And is there any way that they can get attached to you or find you in any way?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, you can connect with me directly. So it's kim@Kim-Adele Randall.com, and I'll make sure that that's obviously in the notes. Or you can reach out to me on social media. I'm Kim-Adele10 or Kim-Adele Randall on LinkedIn. And let's just have a chat. If you're a business owner that is frustrated with where you are, that's looking at the fact that you're in August now, you've still got time to effect a difference for this year, but also to set next year up for success. And I've seen how well these work, both for my business and for the businesses I now support. So if you want a completely complimentary, no forced chat, mine might not be the right mastermind for you, but I'll still happily talk to you to give you some options of where else you might find this support.
Yes, thank you. And thank you for the listeners. I'm sure they got a lot of information on how to delegate, how to be a successful entrepreneur, how to be a community and team builder. So thank you so much for coming on and telling us about your master mindset. And for the listeners, if you want to come on and tell us your story as a founder, as an entrepreneur, as a leadership entrepreneur, we would love to hear what you guys are doing. If you have any questions for Kim or myself and any of the other podcasts we've done, we would love for you to get in touch with us, and we can answer your questions right away. So thank you guys so much for tuning in, and until next time, thank you, Kim, for joining.
Thanks so much. Until next time. Bye-bye.